get our next panel session underway. We are talking convenience redefined, designing food to go that works front and back of house. Let me introduce you to our panelists and moderator. We have Chef Karan Mehta. He is R&D Manager and Development Chef at Americana Food. We have Akhilesh Bahl, founder and CEO of Malt and Salt Hospitality. And your moderator is Fadi Sahal, Director of Product Innovation at The Chefs. Let's give them a nice warm welcome this afternoon. Thank you, gentlemen, and Fadi, I'll let you take it away.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you've had a nice break. FFCC Kuwait, the region's most exciting and innovative food scene. You cannot come to Kuwait and not feel hungry every day. Not only are brands amazing, food is great, this country managed to provide the perfect mix between quality, innovation, and new statement of food that you like every day. On today's panel, we're going to talk about convenience, redefined, food to go, going back to COVID era when none of us was ready for this. No brands were ready for delivery except fast food. How did we change? How did tech change? And how are we moving forward with this? Convenience used to be a perk. Today, it's the baseline. Customers expect food to go that's fast, convenient, and of high quality. And here in Kuwait, one of the region's most innovative market, this is the expectation that is pushing operations beyond boundaries. Joining me today are two leaders in this industry. First, I have Karen Mehta, the R&D Manager and Development Chef at Americana Food. Karen, you'll be bringing to us the scalable innovations across one of the most scalable and most innovative F&B brands in the region. Joining me as well is Akhilesh Bahl, not a familiar face between the two of us, founder and CEO of Malt and Salt Hospitality Consultants and Management. We'll be talking about how we guide operators through real-world chaos of designing food to go that is scalable and of good quality. Yeah. Gentlemen, let's kick off.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Let's start with a reality check. Karen, Americana, you've got scale, you've got R&D, you've got tech. But let's be blunt and honest. What's more difficult? Keeping the food hot or keeping the brand hot?
A good question to start with. Keeping the food hot is more of an engineering challenge, but keeping the brand hot is a culture challenge. So we can resolve keeping the food hot with, hot holding, some steps, SOPs, and other, physics in packaging, and that can help in keeping the food hot, which is a no-brainer. But keeping a brand hot is what requires a lot of thinking, analyzing, and understanding of the market. So it will rely on the taste, some signature flavors, and consistent quality delivery is what keeps a brand hot.
I fully agree, Karen. Thank you. Akhilesh, you walk into dozens of kitchens. What's the ugliest convenience breakdown you've witnessed, and what lesson should every operator learn from?
Can I pick a piece of equipment?
Go ahead.
Microwaves.
Okay.
You walk into kitchens, big kitchens, and you see these beautiful things sitting on a shelf, and I always wonder, why do they find a space in a commercial kitchen? Absolutely unnecessary, with no due respects to microwave brands and sellers out there, but absolutely unnecessary. It does nothing. It kills the food, it spoils the food. Yes, it keeps it hot for a while, it superheats it, but it super cools down. It's not good for the brand. But yeah, okay, when you walk into kitchens, I think the other challenge that you always see in today's day and age, kitchens are becoming smaller. A lot of operators try and maximize front of house space and start to compromise on back of house space, which I have a cultural issue with. I design restaurants the other way. I start from the back of house and then I see how much space am I left with to fit in the number of covers, and then work on efficiency of cover management, floor management, and thus operational flow management. which is, I believe, and this is how we were taught when we were growing up from hotel schools, that's the bread and butter. Your product, which Karan agrees, and he's in the production business and he's a chef himself. If your food's not good, people are not going to come back.
But let's jump to the last point, and I hope no one is upset because of the microwaves.
They can come out with their daggers later.
But operators love to blame tight spaces, tight kitchens, lean teams. That's the newest term. Isn't that just poor planning devised as an excuse?
A mix of all. People want to make beautiful restaurants. People want to make big format restaurants, and they want to cram in as many covers or tables and chairs as they can possibly fit in without the allowance of a limited amount of space for luxury or movement, which then restricts the space planning within the kitchen. That's one. Second is, I think technology has come a long way. There are multifunctional, cross-cooking, functionality-driven equipments today, convection ovens to name one, which I think are great pieces of equipment, and multifunctional ranges where you can do a lot more in less equipment and less space. The key then becomes is, what's your menu? You work backwards from the menu, and if you can do with 1.6 range with an under oven and a 6.1 or a 10.1 convection oven, and if that's the entire menu you can service, I think kudos to kitchen planning. But many a times there is a disconnect in what I see and what comes out on the plate.
Speaking of this, a company in Saudi managed to create 4 brands out of a chicken strip.
Amazing.
And they evolved it between either you get it as a chicken strip, another brand for sandwiches,
Yeah.
another brand, I think, for something similar to the riso and so on. So what you're saying is completely right. Do you have anything to add to that point before we move to another question?
No, I completely agree with him. The planning has to be backward and then forth. The foundation has to be really strong. I believe in a mix of keeping the 80% core fixed and 20% flexible.
Karen, if we go back in time, I think in the 1980s, one of the most disappointing food items ever that failed was the Mac Arch. It was a product produced by McDonald's back then. It failed terribly. I think they lost around $180 million in R&D, followed by the pizza when they tried to throw in pizza at everyone.
Yeah.
Jumping on this question, every menu innovation claims to be convenient. Sometimes the owner claims to be convenient, the chef claims to be convenient. What's the one idea that failed miserably because operations simply couldn't keep up?
So I'll go back in time where delivery was, up and coming. It wasn't evolved as such, wherein there was a sudden uptake of delivery and people wanted to, quickly innovate on, having more delivery space and making it more delivery friendly. So there was a simple product like a crispy chicken, right, to keep it looking beautiful. And there was a box that we had designed which had a couple of extra steps, which was frustrating for the operator and as well for, the customer. The box looked good on paper and it actually made, the concept really appealing. On paper, wow, it looks really good and surely it'll be a hit and stuff like that. But it frustrated both the operator, who took a few minutes extra, which added in the backlog of orders, and the customer to, open it. And the physics wasn't applied, so it trapped the whole steam in and make the crispy chicken completely soggy. So.
And it's easy to make excuse. Akhilesh, I'm sure you've ran through several scenarios of what Karen have said. Anything that comes to mind?
I mean, it's a classic example, right? If I just pick on what Karan was saying about deliveries, back in the day when deliveries really started to pick up, say what, 18 years ago, 20 years ago, more prominently 12, 15 years ago, there was no concept of packaging. Yeah. Now, you would just send food and whatever was then, like it or not, available from suppliers. The food did not travel well, was not handled well, did not arrive well. when I used to as a guest or a person who's ordering food home, or my guests from where the restaurant's food was being delivered and ordered and being delivered, the experience is not what's going to be on the dining table at the restaurant. The dining table at home is going to be very messy, very ugly. The experience is not going to be good, and that used to be the problem. Cut to that and come today. I mean, all the delivery platforms, the restaurants, the entire supply chain, and the entire environment of delivery has come a long way, and it's still not the best experience, but it's, I think, far superior than what it used to be. So I think that's one takeaway from me. Yes, keeping the food fresh and hot, making sure the chicken stays crispy, your pizza doesn't come out sloppy, your sandwiches still come in intact and they don't, are not face down, face up, whichever way. Those are operational metrics which you don't have a choice, you have to work with.
Back in 2006, when I used to work at one of the steakhouses, we used to refuse takeout.
Yeah?
Leftovers were never placed in takeout boxes because we never trusted. And I think in the 2000s, this was just a brown bag.
Correct.
Just a brown bag, put whatever food is inside. How do you get it at home is... But then came COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the segment that took the biggest hit was fine dining, upper casual.
Yeah.
Fast food, they're ready, they're reliant, but they still got the hit.
Yeah.
Let's relive the COVID scene, God forbid. But let's say tomorrow dine-in vanishes again and food to go becomes the new norm.
Mm-hmm.
What's the first thing you would tear apart, and that's a question for both of you, from today's operation and rebuild it in your system?
When you say tear apart, you mean operationally?
However you see it. Operationally, strategy-wise, thinking-wise, space-wise.
So listen, you've got a restaurant built out which you cannot walk away from. You've got leases intact, you've got rents to pay, you've got commitments. During COVID, the hardest hit were employees because they were let go off, not because there was no willingness from operators or owners not to pay them, but they're not earning revenue and they couldn't pay. So as hard as it sounds, which I would not want to do, is the movable assets. Immovable assets become difficult to move out from. The one thing that will have to pivot immediately will have to be, if you are not already a delivery-focused brand, because a lot of brands these days are first delivery or only delivery. Let's say I operate restaurants in Dubai where about only 10 or 15% of our revenue mix is delivery. Okay. We're a heavy dine-in business, which I'm very happy about. But to your question, if that were to happen, I can't afford to lose 85%.
Exactly.
I will have to have a huge mindset and a cultural shift within the team from a training perspective. Mm-hmm. Next, I will have to do a huge pivot from a marketing perspective because it's communications. If people aren't coming to me, can I go to them?
Yep.
Now, how do I go to them? They cannot be sitting at home assuming so-and-so restaurant will deliver unless they see the communication and the visibility. So first is internal, which is my culture, my team, my training. Second is reaching out to my customers. So I think that's the pivot that will have to happen, and it'll have to, unfortunate as it sounds again, it'll have to happen at breakneck speed overnight.
Thank you, Akhilesh. Very, very interesting. Karen, from your side.
To add on to what Akhilesh has said, I'll take the back end part of it, streamline operations. That's the first thing that we'll do after communicating to the consumers about, making your brand visible, making your, product visible to the consumers. We'll be training, streamlining the operations, focusing more on different types of packaging and what innovation we can do on a regular basis to keep the interest ongoing with our consumers.
Very interesting. To follow your answer, and Karen as well, from your side, Akhilesh, chasing food to go, does it risk turning restaurants into factories?
It's how you look at it.
I mean, how do you protect the soul of the brand?
Food to go, again, it boils down to not just, let's say, the way Karan would work in the kitchen and prepare awesome food, but then packaging, the fact that the food is not being delivered but being carried out of your own restaurant is a huge mindset. As a customer, you walk into my restaurant, you order, and you take it yourself. The gratification or the satisfaction you have is very close to the dining experience. Rather than sitting at home and having it delivered 45 minutes later, not so hot, not so warm. The problem that will happen from a pure food-to-go model will be experience. You cannot do a steak that manner.
Yeah.
You can do convenience foods. You can do pastas, you can do, a set of cuisines can be done, pizzas can be done, burgers, unfortunately, but can be done. Asian, Indian, Arabic, these foods travel really well. But a lot of the cuisines will not travel, cannot travel, should not travel, or should not be packed because they just kill it. So I think food to go cuisine becomes important, packaging becomes important, production methods become extremely important. Do you take a pasta as an example? Will your aglio olio be saucier so that it travels and does not become as dry? And if the customer chooses to unfortunately put it in a microwave and have it after 20 seconds, is it still palatable? That's the production side. But those are my thoughts on the food and go, yeah.
Very interesting. Karen, AI kitchens, smarter packaging, endless tools. You walk into kitchens that costed millions and millions of dollars. How do you decide what's genuinely useful versus what's just expensive clutter?
From my perspective, AI, if I look at AI in food industry, in one line, if I can summarize or to start with, if that increases the speed and sweetens the bite, it's good, else it's a no-brainer.
Perfect.
It's out. So we can break it down into few steps, like looking at the customer delta, whether it's actually making the customer feel more, cared, personalized from that angle. Second, is it increasing the speed on the line to, improve productivity, improve efficiency, or is it just just something which is there to make it look more modern and to just be in pace of time. Also, the return on investment should fall in within the required timeline. So if a tool, AI tool, fits within these three, then it's good to go, else it's just a toy.
Perfect. Thank you, Karen. One final question for both of you. Karen, we'll start with you. If you had the chance between faster production, but 10% less quality, slower production, 10% more quality, which wins for you and why?
Difficult question. The answer will vary depending on the target consumer and the operation. So if I am a more, a mass production, relying company, I will focus more on the speed. But if the values are more focused on quality, then for sure quality will not get compromised.
Perfect. Akhilesh?
Quality is number one.
Quality.
It doesn't
Customer
matter.
can wait.
Well, if it's a matter of 2 minutes, they better wait.
Exactly.
They should wait. They're paying for it, and if we can't give them the value or the quality, then what are we in the business for?
True. True.
So yeah, quality supersedes everything for me.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, the floor is yours. If you have any questions for these two amazing minds in F&B, convenience, the floor is yours. Okay.
Good. We've
Seems
answered everything.
We've covered everything. Thank you very much, Karen. Thank you, Akhilesh. And thank you, everyone here.
Thank you.
FFCC Kuwait.